Sean Atwood here, activist in London. Glad you're appreciating the grapes behind me. There is a new podcast, Devil in the Darkness, Epstein, and also the Sun newspaper has got some information from them. It's going to air today, Friday. You'll probably see this video tomorrow. New revelations about Prince Andrew. Apparently he was given an aphrodisiac tea to try and get him in the mood by a woman at the Zorro ranch. Get into the details of this one. The beautiful woman hired by Epstein during Prince Andrew's stay at the New Mexico ranch. This is according to a new witness statement. She was believed to be a doctor in her 20s who worked for Epstein. She asked the staff if they had a special tea that would make Prince Andrew horny because he hadn't expressed much interest in her. Perhaps she was a bit too old compared to the other girls that Epstein was offering. Her name is Deirdre Stratton, and she says she worked for Epstein during 1997 to 2003. She was a procurer of young massage therapists from the area to come to the ranch when Epstein was there, for Epstein and the guests of Epstein's sexual purposes, no doubt. So she spoke for the first time, saying that she was invited to Epstein's Zorro ranch in the early 2000s to entertain the Duke of York while he stayed in the 3-bedroom guest house on the property. Good grief, how many times was Epstein trying to get the goods on Prince Andrew? It seems like just over and over again he's just filing more stuff against Andrew to get more leverage over him. So this is a explosive allegation, according to the Sun, that's being revealed in the Epstein Devil in the Darkness podcast coming out today. Sun Online, they did an exclusive interview with the podcast, and Deirdre, the worker, told the Sun Online that she stayed in the home with Prince Andrew, and at one point we all had these 3 different teas that you could pick the tea that you wanted. She asked me to find one that would make him more horny, that he hadn't been interested in her. I'm guessing because she understood her job was to entertain him. So this is the podcast telling the Sun this. Because she, I guess, the fear, I don't know. The fear would be that Andrew would say, no, I didn't really find her attractive. He would tell Jeffrey that, and she would be on the ropes. Another theory is that Jeffrey probably had her on a retainer, and she knew what her job would be. To make these people happy? That's what I thought. Deirdre said she didn't see Andrew engage in sexual activity with the woman, and there is no suggestion she was underage. However, she said that she was expecting to keep a stable of willing massage therapists from the local area who would be willing to drive to the ranch at short notice and would be well compensated by Epstein. In the podcast, Deirdre says, sex was all they thought about. I mean, I know for sure that Jeffrey would ideally like 3 massages a day. Massages being in her quotes. I don't see how his guests wouldn't know that. And I was listening to a interesting podcast with Whitney Webb. If you want to Google her stuff, or I'll put the podcast link in the interview link in the description box below this video. She was talking how nobody really knows where Epstein's money came from, and it just seems that he spent most of his day focusing on getting off at the hands of these kids and running this sexual child trafficking enterprise. He didn't have time to be making money in the stock market or any of these other things that purportedly he was active in. So it seems, at least in his later years, he was just fully preoccupied with the sex. So Epstein was not present during this visit at the Zorro ranch when Prince Andrew was there. The Zorro Ranch is where Epstein plotted to set up a baby-making factory where he would impregnate dozens of women to spread his DNA. Set in the hills outside Santa Fe, the estate, worth 12 million or 10 million, has a private runway for his plane, the Lolita Express, and that's the one that Clinton took up to 30 trips on, I believe. The disgraced Epstein used his plane to fly in his powerful pals to the Zorro Ranch and young girls to entertain them, according to court docs. And I have been reading all these court docs that I've obtained from Florida Palm Beach Police Department. Detective Recurry, who died mysteriously, filed all these reports, and there's some fascinating information in them about the nature of the original allegations by the victims. If you've not seen them, again, all my Epstein videos are in the playlist in the description box below this video. So guests at the ranch would travel by private jet or by commercial airlines to nearby Santa Fe Airport, where they would be picked up and driven to the ranch. Epstein's former pilot, David Rogers, testified that Andrew flew at least 3 times on the pedo's jet in 2001, and he is listed in flight logs as flying with Epstein in May 2000. There are no logs that show he flew by private jet to Zorro Ranch, but not all of the flight manifests have been made public. Prince Andrew says that he saw Epstein maybe about 20 times. That's what the podcast producer, Melissa Cronin, told The Sun. We found the new eyewitness who was with Prince Andrew during his stay at New Mexico. And while our witness doesn't see Andrew having sex with the woman in question, from her interview it's clear that women were brought to the house as massage therapists but were expected to have sex with the guests. Well, that's a no-brainer now. We completely understand that massage was the code word. She clearly says sex was all they thought about with his 3 massages a day, and they'd even set up the massage room with an extra hand towel. I think personally, for Prince Andrew, even if he is telling the truth that Epstein was only an acquaintance and saw him 20 times, the statement is insufficient to explain the breadth and depth of their friendship. And that's why he is avoiding the media right now, and he's hired this new PR guy to try and counter this, but there's just so much damning evidence. He's got to be sinking right now, drowning in this scandal of the century. The British people, as the ones that support Andrew's lifestyle, deserve a full explanation of their relationship and the times that they spent together, not just in 1 or 2 sentences, categorically denying, emphatically denying. It is insufficient. It's completely insufficient, and the taxpayers were paying for him to fly around the world as this business ambassador, and he's, we saw the creepy videos of him peeping out of Epstein's door, and obviously he was locked in tight with what Epstein was doing. I'm fully aware of it. When Deirdre said she did not see Prince Andrew with his accuser Virginia Roberts, she does not remember seeing Virginia. She does remember seeing Virginia at the New Mexico ranch on other occasions. That's the one with the picture around, his arm around Virginia. Andrew's got his arm around her in front of the white banister, and I did go to the house, Ghislaine Maxwell's house in London, filmed the white banister. If you've not seen that stuff yet, click down into the description box below this video and look at my, I think it's about a 1-hour one where I filmed in London, outside and at the door of Ghislaine Maxwell's house, and also at her deceased mother's house. So this new 12-episode podcast about Epstein explores different aspects of his life, from his upbringing to his death. It features new revelations, including an interview with his former chauffeur, who tells how Epstein was nicknamed the paedophile even before his 2008 child sex conviction by other chauffeurs. Another source has gone on the record for the first time in this podcast. The longtime chauffeur for Jeffrey Epstein, Melissa, said he worked for him for many years. He would pick him up at the airport and bring him back to his mansion. And he does say on the record Epstein was known among all drivers that he was known as the pedo, because there were so many young girls that they were tasked with picking up and bringing into his home. The chauffeur, like so many others on the podcast, said it was very clear there was something kind of off going on. So many, this is a quote now, so many other people said that they had just no idea of the extent of the depravity that was happening, and he feels guilty and sadness for not doing anything about to reveal this sooner. And that's something that we heard from a lot of the sources that went on the record with us. Regret for the clues that they might have missed, or for their inability to tell the story before. But so many of them just lived in fear from potential retribution from Epstein or other people in the circle, and now they feel more emboldened to come forward. And a lot of them were on the payroll, and their livelihoods were at stake, or they just were taking so much money they were looking the other way. A witness to Epstein's first suicide attempt back in July also revealed what he saw. So, first suicide attempt, botched, attempted murder more likely. So this podcaster spoke to a person who was a fellow inmate with Epstein at the time that he attempted suicide the first time, and later when he actually succeeded, Melissa added, so this is the podcast people now, they're towing the line that Epstein committed suicide. Come on now. Not even, I think if they did a poll in America, and a fraction of people believed that he committed suicide. The source takes us to the moment and walks us through play by play what he witnessed in the jail, what he found out before, during and after, and what he witnessed as the guards rushed in and took him out to the hospital. Will be interesting to get his perspective on this, but not buying that suicide nonsense. One of the more interesting things about what he had to share was his observations about how the guards were treating Epstein in the run-up to his death, and what the general atmosphere was in the prison, and how these things may have contributed to his ability to end his life. So the Sun contacted Buckingham Palace. The spokesman said, "I would direct you to previous statements issued by the palace, specifically to the statement released by the Duke last month, in which he made clear that at no time was he aware of any behaviour that subsequently led to Epstein's arrest." Utter lies. In that statement, the Duke said, "It is apparent to me since the suicide of Mr. Epstein that there has been an immense amount of media speculation about so much in his life. This is particularly the case in relation to my former association or friendship with Mr. Epstein. Therefore, I am eager to clarify the facts to avoid further speculation. I met Mr. Epstein in 1999. During the time I knew him, I saw him infrequently, and probably no more than only once or twice a year. I have stayed in a number of his residences. At no stage during the limited time I spent with him did I see, witness, or suspect any behaviour of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest and conviction." How can Prince Andrew say these things when we got the photo of him with his arm around underage girl? We got the victim testimony of him putting the puppet on his hand and grabbing the girl's breast, and we got the video of Prince Andrew peeping out of Epstein's door, just looking as guilty as hell. There's going to be a reckoning at some point. FBI investigation expanding, but like a lot of people, I do believe that he is untouchable. The Queen is not going to sacrifice a son to the justice system of America. It's just not going to happen. Heaven and earth will be moved, favors will be called in, money will be exchanged hands. If anything comes out about Andrew, it will get squashed. There will be a big media storm, but it will get squashed. It's sad, but there are some people in this world who are above the law, and that's why elite deviants exist. They know there's going to be no consequences for their actions, so they can get away with whatever they want. People such as Bill Clinton and all of the heinous stuff that he's done over the years. So, if you enjoyed this video, please put your questions and comments below. Appreciate all of the new subscribers. The subscription logo is in the bottom right hand corner of this video. My left is your right. Thank you, huge thank you to all the people who have donated to the PayPal, Patreon, Just Giving. All those links are in this box below this video as well. And I'm regularly getting up my true crime podcast every week now. At least one or two of them go up with a harrowing story of someone who's either been to prison, been involved in true crime, or has been an ex-cop or an ex-prison guard. So that is really gaining momentum as well. So, have a great weekend. Cheers. Take care out there.